I am surprised at how much I Am Alive has changed since information about the game was first released in 2008. I am currently showing you the announcement trailer from that year's E3, and I am sure I am not the only one who can see how much the game has changed in the 4 years since. Gone is businessman Adam and his colourful world, filled with the promise of suited banker wankers used to years of decadence and technology being reduced to fighting like wild animals over a simple bottle of water, and in his place is this guy.
Test. I'm not sure the sound is working. Wow. It works.
A nameless everyman searching for his wife and daughter in a bleached out, colourless environment, which kind of mirrors the new bleached out, watered down storyline, I guess. But still, a by the numbers generic storyline does not always lead to a bad game. It's just a shame that such a cool scenario has been sacked off and replaced by a cut and paste template from the book Video Game Storylines for Dummies.
I know it's crazy, but I just have this feeling that I'll find you. Julie, without you and Mary, none of this makes any sense.
So anyway, some kind of event, in quotation marks, has hit the world, and our anonymous hero, who I shall call Gavin for the rest of the review, has spent the past year walking back to his hometown of Haventon to reunite himself with his wife and daughter after he chose the worst possible time to be away on a business trip. Skyscrapers lay in crumbling ruins, bridges have collapsed and the streets are thick with a cloud of toxic ash which suffocates anyone unlucky enough to be caught inside it for an extended period of time. This cover of dust is a great excuse for the draw distance to be short and the graphics to have less detail, and I have a feeling it was a later addition to the game when they decided to take it down the downloadable route. Sure, it enables you to still have a large game world at a smaller file size, but it often gives the feeling that a lot of the graphics just haven't rendered properly or just were not finished in the first place, and because everything is the same ash grey colour, it is very easy to get lost and disoriented when you first start if you're not used to spotting climbable objects. Everything just looks the damn same, and it takes a long time to get used to it, and this can make navigating the environment a massive annoyance at the start. However, once the game gets going, it's actually a really cool gameplay mechanic which keeps the suspense really high. It gives a real feeling of being isolated and trapped in a post-apocalyptic city, and steering Gavin through dense fog, searching for a way to get his head above the poisonous clouds before he chokes to death is an incredibly tense experience, and that, my video gaming buddies, is what this game is all about. It's the game's greatest success, but also at times its greatest failing. Managing your stamina and resources are just two ways the game keeps you on your toes and keeps you thinking. Combat, which I'll talk about later, is another. The focus on stamina is a great addition for adding tension to the game. Any kind of exertion drains your energy, and as Gavin is often tasked with Spider-Manning it up the fronts of huge buildings, climbing now becomes a test of speed and planning, and it often gets the heart rate going as you try desperately to reach a secure footing and regain your breath. The game is in no way like Uncharted or Tomb Raider, where you can hang indefinitely above huge drops like super kung fu grip heroes. Gavin gets tired out quickly, and if his stamina bars run out, that generic son of a bitch will fall to his death faster than you can say, "Ah!" You have two types of stamina: the normal stamina, shown by a white bar which decreases as you climb or run, or possibly even when you take a crap, judging by this game. The second bar is your oh shit, I'm gonna fucking die, last gasp bit of save yourself before you perish stamina, which is shown by a decreasing black bar once your normal stamina has been used up. Your white bar will only charge to the same length as your black bar, so burn them both up too fast and pretty soon you're stuck looking silly up the top of a huge building totally out of puff. Weak! The constant running out of stamina can seem pretty unfair at times though. It goes very fast, especially at the start when there are very few items around to help you replenish it, and before you know it you have a tiny amount of stamina and can only climb for about 3 seconds, even though you have a 5-minute climb ahead and behind you. At times like this, Gavin's journey becomes a game of trial and error. You will die over and over again, rinsing and repeating until you find the shortest way across. This forces you to continually replay the climbing sections, which are normally my least favourite parts of these types of games. Even with the added pressure of stamina, it gets boring tackling the same climb time and time again, knowing you are going to fall sooner or later from no fault of your own, except that the climbs are too long and the health items are too few. What makes it worse is that you only have a certain number of checkpoint replays before you are sent a huge distance back to your last save point and have to make all the climbs again. It's some frustrating shit. Sure, it goes towards making your struggle even more desperate, but times have changed since the days of the ZX Spectrum. Gamers like infinite checkpoints. They don't want to redo the same things over and over again. It just gets tedious and joypad-throwingly aggravating. But this type of experience only happens in the early chapters of the game, before you've earned yourself a stockpile of stamina and health regenerating items. Once you have your head in the game, the climb can be incredibly exhilarating, with rising music building as you get higher and higher and Gavin gets more and more tired. The sense of vertigo at times is extreme, and due to this, successful climbs are met with a sense of relief hardly found in video games nowadays. It's almost akin to the feeling of actually making the climb yourself, and it's a great achievement by the developers. The truth is, at first I absolutely hated the climbing, but after completing the game, I believe it's much better than games like Uncharted. Uncharted's climbing sequences are very dull and linear. This makes them almost unnecessary. They just appear as full stops between each fight or cutscene. Here there are multiple paths to choose from when climbing, and also shortcuts which lead to extra items. Taking these shortcuts might mean jumping from one ledge to another though, and a climbing jump will greatly reduce your stamina and climb time, giving a huge sense of risk and reward to the proceedings. It's something I really hope Naughty Dog take on board for Nathan Drake's next adventure. This game isn't just about Gavin clinging to the side of a building with a poop halfway out of his arse though. There are also underground sections and a large open world city area full of places to explore, with items to find and survivors to rescue. If you're brave enough to search the darkness and risk suffocation, you can find many a useful object, ranging from bullets for your pistol to consumables which you can use on yourself or give to those in great need.
If you have something to stop the bleeding, we can cut it off and I can get free.
This rationing and sharing of supplies can often mean the difference between life and death. Early on, I had to choose between saving an inhaler to give to a dying survivor or use it on myself mid-climb so I could progress. I chose myself and managed to make the climb. Just. But it's these choices over items which makes the game even more compelling. As I mentioned earlier, I Am Alive's combat system also creates tension and suspense, and the developers have achieved this by limiting your ammo massively and giving you choices on how to handle each encounter. Surprise and bluffs are as much a part of Gavin's arsenal as his pistol and machete, and by drawing enemies to you rather than instantly brandishing your weapon, you can launch surprise attacks and take people out with a swift slice of their throat, or you can totally avoid confrontation with some people by backing up slowly and walking off. You can intimidate more aggressive bad guys by pointing your pistol at them. Some will cower to their knees, others will back away from you, allowing you to boot them down holes or into large fires, while others will see your bluff and attack you regardless. There is a big uncertainty to these fights. Some you can judge, spot the leader or the guy with the gun and take him down first, and there is a chance his mates might surrender. Shoot the wrong person though and run out of bullets at the wrong time, and kablowie! Gavin's a dead duck. This makes planning your attacks and reading your enemies absolutely essential. Can you see which attackers are holding guns and which aren't? You really don't want to waste your precious ammo, especially when you come up against the armour-clad bad guys around the game's halfway point. Luckily you managed to score yourself a bow and arrow during the game, which lets you retrieve and reuse the arrow an infinite amount of times. But make sure your aim is true, because it's hard to pick up a stray arrow when dudes are hacking your limbs off with huge knives. I Am Alive is a desperate struggle between panic and anger, between fun and frustration. If you have the patience to get past the first chapter or two, then I Am Alive will keep you on the edge of your seat in a way hardly ever seen in games nowadays. But if you can't handle a slow build up and a steep learning curve, it might be best to steer clear of this one. I went from absolutely hating the game for the first 2 hours of play to being drawn in completely and playing it for 6 hours solid. It has its fair share of flaws, but for a downloadable game, it's one of the biggest and best I've played in a long while, and of that fact, I am positive.
You made a big mistake.